So we went from covering a subject that I desperately wanted to cover for a long time, and now we're going back to a series that we haven't talked about in a very, very long time. And boy, the world has pretty much changed, you know. Riots aren't going on every single night. They are kind of to some certain extent, but they aren't as bad as they were back then. But we could still definitely use the wise wisdom of this man, this book, and this series right here. And there is no more classic of a single chapter of the philosophy of Dr. Jordan Peterson than this one right here. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. It is all about delineating chaos and order, and it is important to understand that in dealing with this entire chapter. Okay, there's significance and an importance to understand when it comes to chaos and order. They are both required parts of being, okay? Now, from the outset, I know I would definitely be a lot more comfortable when it comes to dealing with just everything would be purely within order's realm, okay? Order is everything that you know that is going on at the moment, and it is the certainty of life. And I'll go ahead and read from the book here and just let you know how Dr. Jordan Peterson describes order. Order, by contrast, is explored territory. That's the hundreds of millions of years old hierarchy of place, position, and authority. That's the structure of society. It's the structure provided by biology too, particularly insofar as you are adapted, as you are, to the structure of the society. Order is tribe, religion, hearth, home, and country. It is the warm, secure living room where your fireplace grows and your children play. It is the flag of the nation. It is the value of the currency. Order is the floor beneath your feet and the plan for your day. It is the greatness of tradition. It is the row of desks in school classroom and the trains that leave on time, the calendar and the clock. It goes on to continue how order is everything that is set in stone. But at the same time, it is important to understand what chaos is, as according to Jordan Peterson. Chaos is the domain of ignorance itself. It is unexplored territory. Chaos is what extends eternally without limit, beyond the boundaries of states, all ideas, and all disciplines. It is the foreigner, the stranger, the member of another gang, the rustle of the bushes in the nighttime, the monster under the bed, the hidden anger in your mother, and the sickness in your child. Chaos is despair and horror, and the feeling you have been profoundly betrayed. It is the place you end up when all things fall apart, when your dreams die, your career collapses, and your marriage ends. That sounds terrible. Okay, it sounds terrible. And when you compare and contrast order and chaos, you obviously would find yourself to be a lot more at home, a lot more at ease if everything was just merely order. But it is important to understand that just order is not optimal for life. You can go out and you can do the exact same shit every single day, and your life can just subsist around you. Nothing will improve, but at the same time, nothing will decay. You will never advance in your job. You will never accomplish anything new in your job, but you can at least go in and make the exact same effort you put in every single day, and you'll still have your position there, barring unforeseen circumstances. But that's where chaos comes in, okay? As it was described here, chaos is everything that is turbulent in life, everything that is uncertain. And in order for you to advance, you have to explore that unexplored territory. You have to understand that there is growth to be made in chaos. There is no growth to be made in order. Chaos is just as important as order. And the balance in between that, what Peterson refers to as consciousness, is the only way for growth and for, reasonable risk to occur. All of it is important. And what's important is understanding that when your life becomes too rigid, when it becomes too orderly, that's where authoritarianism starts to creep in. That's when everything becomes so rigid that you cannot think outside of those boundaries and you are just looking for a straight path forward. But then at the same time, we can easily imagine the chaos that is out there. If everything that you do is uncertain, if every moment that you wake up, you understand that your life is going to be tough, you might not know something as simple as where you're waking up in the morning or where you're going to be laying your head down on the pillow at night, or if you're even going to have a pillow, what you're going to do for food, what you're going to do for work. All of those are the extremes of chaos. No sane person wants to live at either end of those spectrums. And it's very easy to see, if I am to drag up the old riot metaphor, that the people just want chaos on the certain ends, when you get the Antifa out there just wanting to burn everything down because they've seen the rigidity of order playing out and they see it as something detrimental to human society. I don't think that these are mentally stable individuals. It's fairly obvious to see from their arrest records as well. They aren't people that you should be taking any sort of life advice from, let alone societal structure advice. But since we have the definitions away, we're going to go through the chapter here, and of course I got my book here, but first things first, the chapter 2 starts out with a story about why won't people take their pills, okay? Because as you can see here, treat yourself like somebody who you are responsible for helping. I want you to think, okay? If you are ill, you have a prescription that you need to take, how often do you adhere to it? First, when you first get your pills, obviously you're going to adhere to it, and then after a while things start to slip. Oh, okay, I forgot to eat that, or I forgot to take my pills with lunch. Oh, okay. You know what? I got 2 out of the 3 days. That's fine. You know what? It's better than average. And oh, geez, you know what? I'm starting to feel a lot better. You know what? I'm getting over this flu. No longer need the penicillin or whatever. I don't need to finish the rest of it, even though your doctor tells you that keep the doses going until your prescription is filled. But at the same time, I want you to imagine your pet is ill, your sister is ill, brother is ill, your spouse is ill. You are going to make sure that everything in your power you're going to do to make sure that they feel better. Make sure that they heal from their injury. People are far more likely to administer a prescription to somebody who is not themselves. Like, I'll just read this passage here. Imagine that it isn't you who feels sick. It's your dog. So you take him to the vet gives you a prescription. What happens then? And you just have just as many reasons to distrust your vet as a doctor. Furthermore, you cared so little for your pet that you weren't concerned with the improper, substandard, or error-ridden prescription you might be given. You wouldn't have taken him to the vet in the first place. Thus, you care. Your actions prove it, in fact, on average, you care more. People are better at filling and properly administrating prescription medication to their pets than they are to themselves. That's not good. Even from your pet's perspective, it's not good. Your pet probably loves you, and it would be happier if you took your medication. It is difficult to conclude anything from this set, except that people appear to love their dogs, cats, ferrets, and birds, and maybe even their lizards, more than themselves. How horrible is that? It is such a shame must exist from something like that to be true. What it could be about is that people prefer their pets to themselves. It is an ancient story in the book of Genesis, the book in the Old Testament, that helps me find an answer to that perplexing question. Yeah, what's powerful in that is pointing out that, your dog or your loved one that you're taking care of is probably going to be having a vested interest in that you are taking care of yourself. So if you find yourself in that exact same situation, you should remedy yourself as quickly as possible and just follow the prescription that you'd be so likely to tell somebody else to follow as well. And that's like if you have somebody that you love that excessively drinks, somebody who smokes, somebody who's overweight. You're trying to help them out to the best of your abilities, and it's not easy sometimes. People slip on and off the wagon, and it's a difficult thing to do, especially if you don't want to do it yourself. But then at the same time, if you have hidden demons as well, you don't want to make them so apparent for individuals. And so that you'll work extra hard in order to fix those people so that you can avoid dealing with the chaos within yourself. That you will enact the order that you know is best for yourself and others instead of dealing with the issues that directly affect you. And you know what? The rest of this chapter just has a bunch of Adam and Eve and Book of Genesis type metaphors, and it explains everything in so much detail, and I would just bore everybody to death if I was to just read the rest of this. So we're going to close this video, and I'm going to try to keep this short because the election comparison video is quite long, and the lockdown video was just a touch morose, to be completely fair. But no, we're going to parse these last few paragraphs apart. To treat yourself, if you were someone you were responsible for helping, is instead to consider what you're truly good for. What would be truly good for you. This is not what you want. It is also not what would make you happy. Every time you give your child something sweet, you make that child happy. That does not mean that it's something you should do for your child is just feed them candy. Happy is by no means synonymous with good. You must get children to brush their teeth. You must put on their snowsuits while they go outside in the cold, even if they might object strenuously. You must help a child become a virtuous, responsible, awake being capable of full reciprocity, able to take care of himself and others, and to thrive while doing so. Why would you think it is acceptable to do anything less for yourself? You know this stuff that you are doing. that is absolutely 100% wrong. It might be not waking up on time. It might be procrastinating on a chore that you know that you have to do in order to make your house a more orderly place. Sure, you'll tell your loved ones that they need to take better care of themselves if they want to accomplish anything in life, but that might be a touch harsh, but you're going to say something to that effect in different shades if you love them. And as Peterson says, why would you think it is acceptable to do anything less for yourself? So we'll continue here. You must determine where you are going so you can bargain with yourself so that you don't end up resentful, vengeful, and cruel. You have to articulate your own principles so you can defend yourself against others taking inappropriate advantage of you, and so that you are secure and safe while you work and play. You must discipline yourself carefully. You must keep the promises that you keep to yourself and reward yourself so you can trust yourself and motivate yourself. You need to determine how to act towards yourself so that you are most likely to become and stay a good person. It would be good to make the world a better place. Heaven, after all, will not arrive on its own accord. We will have to work to bring it about, and strengthen ourselves so that we can withstand the deadly angels and flaming swords of judgment that God used to bar its entrance. Exactly like we said in the beginning, if you don't know where you're going, you need to define what that is. And if you don't know how to get there, seek the assistance in order to get there. Because your goals, your dreams, your visions aren't going to just magically appear in front of you. You have to continue to get better at every step of the way. And that involves invoking both order and chaos. Order to stay on that road and chaos to find that road and make those changes. And finally, I'll close out with this. You'd help direct the world, or its careening trajectory, a bit more towards heaven and a bit more away from hell. Once having understood hell, researched it, so to speak, particularly your own individual hell, you could decide against going there or creating that. You could aim elsewhere. You could, in fact, devote your life to this. You could give your life meaning with a capital M. That would justify your miserable existence. That would atone for your sinful nature and replace your shame and self-consciousness with the natural pride and forthright confidence of someone who has learned once again to walk with God in the garden. You could begin by treating yourself as if you were someone you were responsible for helping. Think about that, okay? If you have to go back into your childhood when you last had a pet, you remember walking it, feeding it, watering it, taking the best care of it possible. And I think sharing that chapter with you guys on Christmas Day here is very powerful. I want you guys to all take the best care of yourself, and then you can start taking care of your family, potentially even your community as well. As long as you all get your stuff together and don't fear chaos. Don't fear too much order either. Understand the power that is invested in both. And by all means, orient the world a little bit more towards heaven and a little further away from hell, because 2020 has provided a fair amount of hell for all of us, and enough of us work together, we can bring that heaven a little bit closer for us all. Like I said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed your Christmas Day. I thank you all very much for stopping by and watching any of these videos that were put out today. I'll be back with live coverage tomorrow, and unless anything fucking bonkers has happened, it'll be my first opportunity to, greet you guys after the holiday, my favorite day of the year. And I hope you all had a wonderful day, still having a wonderful time. You got to catch up with your family and friends and whoever you're spending the day with, or even if you're alone and you spent a little bit of your day with me. It's an unbelievable honor, and I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut, get after it. Take care, everyone.